Hello everyone. So in today's video, we will be exploring the concept of project constraints. Now, as you all will agree that every project has some constraints, limitations associated with it. Like for example, you will not have unlimited time or money to spend on the project. You would have a restricted amount of money and time and other things like resources. So these are called as constraints. Now, if we think about modern project management, we have six project constraints. The first one is scope. When I say scope, I mean that every project will have certain defined requirements or features, functionalities, characteristics that it has to deliver, bare minimum. Then, of course, cost is a constraint, just like I said, and then same goes for time. The fourth constraint that we have is quality. Again, every project's output would have to adhere to a certain bare minimum norms or standards, quality requirements that they have to fulfill. Then, of course, resources are also a constraint. You would not have unlimited resources to consume on any project. And then the last one is risk. When I say risk as a constraint, I'm referring to the overall risk exposure that we can take in a project. Like some organizations may prefer limited risk exposure, and if the overall risk exposure increases beyond a certain threshold, then the organization may not really be interested to remain invested in that project. So, as a project manager, we have to understand what these constraints are for our given project and then make sure that our plans are prepared keeping these constraints in mind. However, that being said, what we also have to understand is that our planning can never be 100% accurate. We cannot foresee the future, in simple words. There will always be things that will go wrong or that will not go as per plan, and we don't have backups every time. We cannot create a backup for everything, or we cannot have a contingency for everything. There will definitely be some unforeseen, unknown events waiting to happen that we are not prepared for. And when they happen, then of course these constraints can get impacted, or I should say, will get impacted. Say, for example, we planned a project to complete in 6 months with a certain budget and scope, quality, resources, risk, everything was planned. Halfway into the project, a disaster strikes, and it's a natural disaster. We couldn't have predicted it. There was no way that we were that we could have foreseen it. So now when that natural disaster strikes, most likely our timelines will get extended. Now, the management may not be happy about it, and they still prefer the project to be delivered as per the original timeline. But because some unexpected events happened, where we cannot continue to progress as per the same plan. Now, you might need to pump in more money to get the work done faster. You may have to sacrifice on quality again to get the work done faster. You may have to cut down on the scope. You might have to take more risk. You may have to add more resources. So the point that we have to understand here is that you cannot have all six constraints as fixed. So if the management says that we can't allow you to extend the timeline, then of course I'm going to go and ask for more money. And if they don't give me more money, then I might have to take a hit on quality. And if they don't allow that also, then I might have to descope the project or add more resources or take more risk. But if they do not allow me to do any of that, then how can I run the project? It's not possible. It's just not practical. So what we have to understand is that some of these constraints will be fixed, whereas some of these constraints will be flexible. The fixed constraints are the ones that we need to protect. We need to make sure that those fixed constraints, they remain fixed, and in order to do so, we have to trade off some other constraints. By that I mean that you have to either, maybe like for example, to finish the project on time, we have to increase the budget. So now we are trading off this time constraint by passing on the impact onto the cost constraint. So every project may have different, you can say, prioritization of these constraints. In one project, time could be a more important constraint. In another project, quality could be a more important constraint, and likewise. So we have to understand that which constraints are fixed, which constraints are flexible, or you can say, in other words, we need to understand the priority of these constraints and make sure that top priority constraints are the ones that we want to protect, and the low priority constraints can be sacrificed as and when required. I hope this makes sense. That's all for today's video. Hopefully we'll have another short video coming tomorrow. Take care. Bye.